Hi, my name is Marcella, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Applied Mathematics at UC Santa Cruz in the Baskin School of Engineering. And my research field is that of controlling biology, or how do we get nature to do our bidding? And if you ever worked with experimental systems, you know this can be quite a challenging task. And we take a slightly different approach here than the usual synthetic biology approaches we think of. And rather, we consider how we might manipulate the environment surrounding our biological system in order to manipulate its response and ultimate behavior. In particular, I worked on a project in controlling stem cell fate, in which we use feedback to control the memory potential of the stem cell, ultimately directing its cell fate. And we did this by being able to monitor the cells using fluorescent microscopy with fluorescent reporters integrated and engineered into our stem cells, and actuators in the form of bioelectronic device that allow us to deliver and remove charged molecules. And in this work, we implemented feedback by coupling these sensors and actuators with an external controller. And so we developed a machine learning algorithm that would learn cellular response to input, and in this way be able to control the membrane potential. And now we are currently expanding this work to apply to wound healing. And so wound healing consists of 4 primary stages that are shown here. And the idea here is to find the biological processes that we can target, so identify those processes and artificially manipulate them in a way that we can accelerate wound healing. And this requires an integration of many approaches in data science, control theory, and even machine learning. Thank you. We hope to see you here at UC Santa Cruz.
Hello, everyone. This is Hongyun Wang, Professor of Applied Mathematics at UC Santa Cruz. Today, I'm going to tell you about a research direction I'm recently doing. It's the stimulus response model. In general, as we increase the strength of stimulus, the probability of response will increase. The stimulus response model has a very broad application. Let's look at a few of them. In a classical psychological experiment, a person is asked to identify a pattern from a picture shown with different level of resolution. In many applications, the stimulus has many different types of responses and sometimes contradicting effects. Air pollution has a short-term effect and a long-term effect. Both are bad. For medicine, it has a benefit effect, that's what we want, and the side effect, that's what we want to avoid. If we use a loud, impulsive noise as a non-lethal weapon, that is very helpful in resolving, for example, hostage situation. It has the stunning effect, that is what we want, and it may cause hearing loss injury to the hostages and the police personnel. That is what we want to avoid. The mathematical part of the stimulus response model has many challenges. First of all, in application, the overall input of the stimulus is not a one-dimensional object. It's multi-dimensional. In many situations, it's a function. So how do we use a single metric to measure that input? We have some existing single metric quantification. How do we make best use of them? And how do we design and formulate a more informative quantification of the input? And for the existing data, we want to get the most information out of it, determine the model parameter from it, and at the same time, we want to design new psychophysical experiments for model construction and model calibration. Finally, when a stimulus is applied repeatedly, we need to take into consideration the dose accumulation immunity, and cognitive learning. Thank you.
I'm Steve Munch, and I'm a mathematical biologist. Specifically, I'm a fisheries ecologist at NOAA Fisheries, and I'm adjunct faculty in both applied math and ecology and evolution program at UC Santa Cruz. My PhD is in oceanography, but I did a postdoc here in applied math and statistics, and most of my work these days is focused on inference, prediction, and control in sparsely observed complex systems. Now, mathematical ecology is the branch of math bio concerned with understanding and predicting patterns at the level of individuals and above. For instance, we develop theory to understand why things eat what they do, how they respond to predators, to describe movement patterns, and how these things scale up to population fluctuations. Other branches of mathematical ecology are concerned with modeling the flow of energy, nutrients, or pollutants through whole ecosystems, and at still coarser resolution, we aim to understand community composition, that is, which species are present, and patterns of biodiversity, that is, why some places have more species than others. But mathematical ecology is also used to guide decision-making in areas that affect the health and livelihoods of millions of people. These areas include managing harvested populations, mitigating pest outbreaks, predicting harmful algal blooms and disease spread, as well as determining environmental regulations such as setting limits to pollution, etc. Now, a lot of my work is motivated by problems in fisheries management. Now, fisheries is $1 billion industry a year worldwide, but harvested populations have been declining for decades. And so there's a lot of interest in figuring out what's going on and developing mathematical models to manage marine ecosystems. So here's a schematic of a marine ecosystem in which a handful of boxes represent different species and the arrows between them represent the flow of energy or nutrients. But really this is a cartoon ecosystem. In real ecosystems, there are hundreds to thousands of species present, and we often have data on only a small fraction of them. And critically, this isn't physics. There is no well-vetted model of how ecosystems work that we can leverage to make predictions. And so there's clearly a need for mathematical methods that allow us to make inferences about coupling in this large, sparsely observed network, and to make predictions about future population sizes, and to guide management. My work makes use of a wide range of mathematical tools, primarily nonlinear dynamics and chaos, function approximation, machine learning, and optimal control theory. But I'm always on the lookout for other things that might help, and my recent dabbling includes maximum entropy, multi-scale modeling, and renormalization. We borrow liberally from physics, computer science, etc. My lab applies these tools to identifying coupling in complex networks, analyzing spatiotemporal data, and predicting responses to climate change, and of course, ecosystem management. Obviously, the methods we're developing have applications far beyond ecology. So if this sort of thing seems interesting to you but you really don't care about fish, don't let that keep you away.